Are we live? Are we live? Because it is New York Giants football Sunday. I put that on the game day graphic. I was like, I just hope everyone has a good day. I'm Bobby Skinner here with the Football Grump, but we need to be live so we can talk about the New York football Giants and their game against the Detroit Lions and Jaxson Dart not being out.
This is a big day. Do you know this is Tyrone Tracy's birthday?
Oh, happy birthday, Tyrone Tracy. Here, I got to stop you. Are you looking at the chat? Don't look at the chat.
Should I look at the chat?
Don't look at the chat. Don't look at the chat.
Don't look at the chat. Not looking at the chat.
You haven't looked at Twitter. Let's do guess the inactives because there was just a spoiler that was put on Twitter, and I'm going to be wrong in it. But do your 6 inactives.
All right. I've been flip flopping on the last guy for a little while now. I'm just going to pick one of the 3 guys I'm cycling between. But the easy ones are Dart was ruled out. Paulson Adebo was ruled out. Kayvon Thibodeau was ruled out. Thomas Fidone was ruled out, but then they moved him to IR, so that's not going to count. But they only need 6 guys. So I'm going to roll with my James Hudson is not going to be active for this game again. I think they're just done with him. I mean, I don't know who's going to remain at the end of this year to make the move on him, but I assume his 2-year contract is they're going to let that, whatever. Yeah. Tyler Nubin, I think Dan Duggan was saying was listed as questionable, but seemed more like doubtful. So he's my 5th.
All right, so we're
I'm going to go with Nacho for the 6th spot.
He's healthy, though.
He's not. He was limited all week with 2 injuries.
But he wasn't on the game statuses.
All right. Well, I mean, it was between Nacho, Banks, and Golston for me. And Golston's another one that's wasn't listed as a game status, but was still limited.
Well, the spoiler is that Deonte Banks is sitting on the bench as players go through early warmups. Doesn't look like he'll be active, says Dan Duggan.
Okay.
So I had Jalen Hyatt. So I think we're both going to be missing one of them.
Yeah. So. This was a hard one, man. Well, I mean, this is honestly how it should be every week when your team's not decimated.
If I really cared about this game a lot, I would move this show up an hour because it's like once we get close to it, we can start giving away the clues.
Well, that's a 2026 GNS thing then.
Next year the game day live streams will be 8 a.m. Like you're gonna wake up to them. So we'll see, or maybe they'll just be like 5 hours. Like we'll you know what? That's a dream right there, Grump. We have a 5-hour morning game day morning show with different hosts and stuff.
Breakfast with Bobby.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Put that down in the idea. We need to find people to do that. Giants.
So what you do is you get a guest on there who's also a good cook and let them do their fucking breakfast thing and their Giants predictions.
Yeah, maybe have like El Jefe do that. So like what we can start it with at 7 a.m. with a replay of the preview podcast, right?
Man, you're just killing my Saturday nights. 7 a.m.
No, I'm saying a replay of the preview podcast.
So yeah. Okay.
Previously recorded. We started, El Jefe's doing breakfast from, El Jefe and the New York Revival guys going from, 8 to 9 a.m. We have someone else from 9 to 11:15, right? Host a show. And then me and you jump on from 11:15 to 11:45. And that's where it closes out.
Yeah, I mean, we could do general NFL stuff even from that 9 to 11:15 hour because that's 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's a lot of talk. I don't know how.
But I was thinking about like having a rotation. Like me and you aren't going to be on there for 5 hours. We will want to die.
We would be dead because at that point now you're talking about from 8 a.m. to 6:30 is just
life would just be miserable if we did that.
Like with this team, what's the difference?
Yeah, could you imagine? So now, I'm actually thinking that's a good idea.
Yeah, put that one in the GNS bank for ideas.
Yeah, we got to think of the people that can host the different segments and stuff like that. So you got to have it, have people that are committed for 17 weeks a season. Maybe
can't use Danny on the West Coast.
No, it's kind of bullshit that Danny would be very welcomed on these shows, but he's on the West Coast, so I'm not going to.
He's not getting up at 3 a.m. to do that.
Yeah, I'm not even going to ask him to do this. So maybe we get somebody. Maybe we throw Jordan a little extra cash and he does 20-30 minutes from the stadium or something of that nature. So I'm sure
or even
my
just,
wife is in the
like,
background being like, "Why are you trying to ruin every day of the week?" But
no, you get somebody with parking lot vibes at like tailgates for home games.
yeah,
It doesn't
yeah,
necessarily even have to be Jordan. It could just be, maybe a van guy. I don't
yeah.
know if I want to say his name.
Van guy,
Yeah.
the bus guy,
Yeah, the bus guy.
Mark.
Yeah, I know his name.
Oh,
I wasn't sure if I don't know. Yeah, Mark.
yeah.
Mark could even do like something from there
Breakfast
since
at the
he's always been.
bus, or
There
something
you
like that.
go.
But hey, Jaxson Dart's out. We didn't really do a full preview pod. I went live for a little bit on Friday just to catch up on some of the stuff. So Jaxson Dart not playing, I know that's going to just drain interest from a lot of people, and I don't blame you, right? Like we've said, like he is the, I remember talking with other friends in media before the year and once the season went 0-3 and whatever, talking about like, man, this kind of sucks, man. Like, whereas people lose interest, but it's like, but we have Jaxson Dart. But when you're now 2-9, facing Grump, if there was one game this year where, like, let's say the Giants won all of their, one score games that they look to, point to as why they're actually pretty good roster, right? And they are 6-5, and even Jaxson Dart's healthy. I'm still going into this game individually and being like, this is a terrible matchup.
Oh, yeah.
Like, with their receivers, their run game, this is just a terrible matchup for the New York Giants. They would need to do what the Commanders did in the playoffs last year, where you put up 40 points and you get 2 turnovers, and that's the reason why you win the game to win this game. But not having Jaxson Dart sucks, because I was looking forward to seeing him be back. I have seen there's like this notion that they're playing it safe. I really don't think that's what they're doing. He wasn't clear for the concussion protocol, and they went through this week preparing for him to be the starter. They spent the entire week. Go look at the clip I posted on Friday of Jameis Winston's press conference, and he's basically having to like take cover, being like, "Yeah, we weren't prepared for this at all. I just found out, basically."
Yeah.
That
And I don't think he
doing
took
this.
like first team reps in practice.
No, not until Friday, right? And he's like, I got a little bit today. Like, you could tell you could tell that he kind of knew the situation was a little wonky, and so he was like almost trying to distract from the fact that they were not preparing for him at all. So this wasn't the Giants playing it safe. This was he did not clear the concussion protocol. I know the Giants are spinning in that way, probably going to try and spin it that way, but like they were planning all week for him to be the starter.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird to like play it safe with a concussion, because it's like the one injury that has like a clear defined like medical good to go on from someone outside the team. So it's like, if you want to play it safe, I don't really know that gets you anything. You know what I mean? Like you either are out of the protocol or you're not. So like, I don't, for optics or something, maybe you would do that. But like at the end of the day, you have 2 sets of doctors saying this guy is cleared to play. So now it's on you when you decide you're not going to play.
Yeah.
The
only way to quote unquote play it safe for the concussion is to, again, also he could be lying, right? Like, these players try and hide concussion symptoms, and maybe they figured it out or whatever. Because you can pass these tests with a concussion. So there's that part of it. The other part is like the way to play it safe is just like, we just don't want him getting another concussion in this game, so it's one less chance. So he's out. He'll be back. For Monday Night Football against the Patriots, I would assume. You can tell that he's not super happy about it. You saw his, all the players saying that he's normal. You saw his Instagram where he captioned the, like "see you soon" or whatever, and then the song that he used was "I Run." So we're Monday Night Football prime time. We're going to see Jaxson Dart spearing guys again.
It really is a bummer that he's not going to play, because like you said, this is a horrible matchup. Even if the whole team is healthy, Brian Dable's still the head coach, there's no turmoil, and they have like a somewhat decent record, this is still a horrendous matchup. I had said in like my prediction, like I don't think this is going to be a close game, but I think that the aspect of Jaxson Dart and what he brings as a competitor and as a quarterback who elevates the talent around him could actually score some points in this game and almost make it a respectable game. That's out the window. We're back to Jameis Winston. And this is not like me being like a Jameis Winston hater, but I will be very surprised if the Detroit Lions defense drops as many interceptions as our opponent last week with the Packers.
I'm actually going to see, when was the last time Jameis had back-to-back starts without an interception? Oh, he had an interception last week, so that actually doesn't even count.
Yeah.
He forgot he had that late game. Something we didn't talk about a lot, because Jalen Hyatt totally screwed up that final play last week, and
Right.
he did. And I put the video of that fourth down mesh where he it was kind of unbelievable.
Where he's like way over the top of the play.
In reality, he should have had an easy touchdown. That should have been a Jalen Hyatt touchdown. And not because of Jalen Hyatt, because you put any receiver in that spot, and they probably should have had a touchdown against that defense, or at least down to like the 1 or 2 yard line. And the overreaction would have been unbelievable. Like, see, this is the way this guy's been needed to use. And he screwed that up. But the final play, the interception, as much as he screwed that up, that ball was incomplete at best. That's safety. Best. The reason why Hyatt quit was because the safety read the route from a mile away. So I think Hyatt just assumed there's no way that Jameis is throwing this ball.
It's still third down, though.
Yeah, no, no excuses for Hyatt from that. That was what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that
he didn't give up on a touchdown, really, though.
Yeah, that ball is still very much a good chance of being intercepted. And like I said, incomplete at best if he runs his route perfectly on that play. If he ran that route like he was, Reggie Wayne, that ball is maybe Calvin Johnson catches it, but outside of him and Randy, I don't think there's any chance of that ball being caught. Other things is I guess Deontay Banks is going to be out. We don't have the official inactives. Actually, let's wait for the inactive list to come out, and then we'll talk.
You don't have a take on that?
I have a take about the corner group. I want to talk about Drew Phillips. Like, I think there's just got to be more to the story there for him being benched last week. I even went back and watched the film, bro, on the series before he went out. So I guess we'll wait the 2 minutes until the inactive list is out.
So who do you start? Who do you start at corner?
I said we're going to wait for the inactive list.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Let's see what some of the chat has before we get the inactive list. I'm not buying Giants merch until the team improves. Don't want to put a dime. I am scoring GNS. Okay, well, now you're conflicting me. Where I'm like, maybe one more loss. We keep losing. We keep making money in the merch store from Deb Ellis. Here's actually a good one, AJ. How do the Giants deploy Slayton and Hodgins? Seems like Hodgins was trusted by Jameis, but Slayton is the guy who usually runs those over routes, digs, intermediate to deep routes. Jameis throws well. So Hodgins was one on the backside of a lot of concepts, and the Giants ran a lot of 11 personnel last week, or at least at passing game, they ran a lot of 11 personnel. They ran a lot of 12 personnel in the run game. Slayton is the front side of those routes, right? So a lot of reasons Hodgins got targeted so much is because Hyatt was on the front side of stuff. And guess what? Hyatt doesn't do well. Wandale is not someone that's, winning down the field or anything in some of these Jameis aggressive plays. So he would get to the backside dig, and that was Hodgins. So I think it's just Slayton goes to the front side of that, which means more targets to the front side of concepts and 3 wide receiver sets. And then Hodgins just kind of, he'll be in the front side of quick game and stuff. But Slayton is the only guy who really thrives, 20, I won't say thrives because he struggled this year, but like 20 plus yards down the field, where Wandale's not really doing that. Hodgins, that's the limit. That's the biggest limitation to his game, is he is very much a 15 yards and below receiver. So I think that's just it. I think they'll try and get Hodgins a little more involved after seeing him put it together last week. But like I said, his only 2 plays where he was the first read were kind of like free, like almost like RPOs, where it's like pre-snap, you see the front they're in, we're just going to throw a slant or a speed out to you. The rest were total backside of the play reads.
Right. I do think that. Yeah, I mean that's probably typically how you're going to deploy things, but I don't really think that it would be detrimental to flip them from time to time, front side and backside.
Yeah,
Hodgins I think is better at the catch point than Darius Slayton.
Yeah.
And can win contest and goes up and get, fights for those contested. So I think you look at your matchups and your play design and you can flip them also to your advantage, based on coverage, based on the corner, whatever you think is best. So that's what's kind of cool about Hodgins is that he's not really horrendous at much of anything. He's just an all around good receiver with good measurables and, good intangibles as well.
Yeah. It's just with him. And this is why I was interested to see how he would operate with Dart is he wins at the stem. Hold on. I'm typing something. I'm getting the inactive list ready just in case it comes out. Because it will come up. You got to get that ball to him and accurately, on time and accurately, because he's not going to pull away, right? I remember that Patrick Peterson interception that they had against the Vikings in the regular season,
right,
in 2022, where Hodgins had double moves and stuff, but put Isaiah Hodgins on a crosser, and Peterson was just able to make up, and Jones just threw the ball instead of right here, he threw it right here, and the ball ended up getting intercepted because Hodgins can't pull away the way other receivers are. So you got to get to him on time and very accurately. And he's just not challenging down the field.
Which
he's
is
never really pulled in deep contested catches in his career. He hasn't been targeted a ton, but he's never really gotten those either.
That's a huge bummer as to why we're not seeing Dart this week. I know we'll see him eventually with Isaiah Hodgins, but I am really interested to see how well the two of them mesh.
Yeah, me too. Because like you said, I think Hodgins should be kept around at depth, right? He went.
Well, that's what makes him a perfect depth receiver is that he's just pretty good at everything.
Yeah. All right. So I'm getting the inactive list ready.
It might be out. Let me see.
Yeah, let me know if it's out.
What do we want to talk about Eric Gray at all?
Actually, yes. This is the perfect place to talk about Eric Gray.
I'm not seeing it out yet. Who's usually the first to tweet it?
The Dan Salomon.
Okay.
So whatever. I'm getting an active list from other places. Xavier Restrepo is active today. He'll be making his NFL debut. So I didn't think Restrepo would be a UDFA, but I did think it was a little crazy. He is very slow.
Mm-hmm.
But that's our Xavier Restrepo takes. I'm kind of just want to wait for this inactive list to get out so we can just talk about the corner room.
Well, why don't you talk to me about Eric Gray? Because for me, I know that we don't like him. He's a bad draft pick or whatever, but he is a capable running back.
I think he's a better running back than Dante Miller, and people hate that take. Look,
he's less exciting, but he is more. He's more experienced. He's better at the position. He's
got a better ability to cut. Go watch Eric Gray preseason, right? If we want to talk about a guy who did well in preseason, Eric Gray has been amazing in preseason. He has 50-yard touchdowns every year in the preseason. People have been.
I think he's going to get kickoff return duties with Banks inactive probably.
See, I don't like that. So as much as I just said all that about Eric Gray, he has been bad. He has a fumbling issue. Yes. He's a bad blocker.
Yes.
And he's not a great goal line back. So he is good at those one cut and go zone runs. He's good at the screen passes, right? He had a lot of how many receiving yards did he have last year? And 5 games before he got injured, or stopped being used? Let's see, because last year he had 10 catches for 82 yards, which doesn't seem like a ton, but that's decent for your RB3. But I don't want him on kickoffs either. He's totally screwed that up before. He's got a fumble issue, so it's not. I'm fine with him as RB3 over Dante Miller, but I also don't want him ever really getting an opportunity.
Correct. I'm guessing on special teams because he has a special teams career, but his entire special teams career seems to have been a justification for his roster spot, not the other way around, not because he brings something to the table. Now, at the same time, they've used Jalen Hyatt on kickoff returns this year. They've used Deonte Banks. They seem open to those different things. So maybe Hyatt gets another shot this week at kickoff return duties, but neither of those guys are good. It's just that Hyatt and Banks haven't fumbled the ball, and they've been serviceable. Banks better than Hyatt, and it's not even close.
Banks just jumps every time into contact. Like he
does.
And so every kick return is like a panic.
But it does look like he at least has some level of vision for what's going on in front of him. Jalen Hyatt seems to just run forward.
Yeah. Hyatt's not meant for that. Which again is like, we could talk about Hyatt's roster spot. It is so dumb to have him rostered over Amir Smith-Marset.
That's true.
It really is stupid. Like when you think about it, it's like this guy gives us nothing. Amir Smith-Marset's a better receiver than Jalen Hyatt.
Jalen Hyatt's just not a good receiver. He's not really a good football player. He's just a really good athlete.
I'm actually going to tweet that out. Things that nobody cares about.
Let me check on the inactives.
In week 12 at 2-9, but it's insane that Jalen Hyatt has a roster spot. The Human Torch was denied a bank loan.
People definitely getting up at 8 a.m. for this kind of content.
Over Jalen Hyatt. I almost put over Jalen Hyatt. See? Over Amir Smith-Marset, who can return kicks and also be a bad wide receiver.
Here's an interesting question for you, though. If we're just talking about kick returns, not running back 3, would you rather have Dante Miller back there than any of the people that we've talked about?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
I agree.
Like I said, he's kind of more of a run straight, but he's fast. He's got a little more shake than than Hyatt does. So yeah, I agree. So Miller could definitely do that. And he's got the type of speed where if he does get the right angle at it and you get good enough blocking, he can house one.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sitting here saying he is you're just saying this. Amir Smith-Marset is overrated. He's just saying that because Elijah Chapman is not useful. I will give Elijah Chapman some flowers.
He can't possibly be overrated. Nobody outside of the Giants organization knows who Amir Smith-Marset is. He's on the practice squad.
He's just trying to rile me up.
I know.
But I will say this. Elijah Chapman did remind me last week of what he was good at last year, and is being a little cannonball on stunts, where he is just like run upfield 2 steps and then just get horizontal and just like a cannonball just dive into the hip of some offensive lineman to free up a stunt. So I will give Elijah Chapman credit. Like that's his one use on defense, and he's pretty damn good at it.
Inactives are out.
They're out. So let's see.
It's Kayvon, Dart, Adebo, Nubin, Banks, and Hudson.
So Dart, Adebo, Kayvon, Nubin, Banks, and James Hudson. Okay. All right, so now let's talk about the corners position. So with Banks out, that means Corey, and Adebo out, that means Corey Black is getting all the reps at outside corner today. I love that so much.
Do you?
Something I am paying a lot of attention to is nickel corner. Because I went back and watched the series that Drew Phillips was benched before. And it was the first drive of the third quarter. He gave up that little 10-yard out route to I can't remember what receiver it was. I think maybe Romeo Dobbs. But like they were playing man coverage with cheating way inside leverage, right? So that's where you're vulnerable in those situations. And run game, there was no issues. In fact, they were in base defense quite a bit, and then they benched him for Nick Jones. There just has to be a little more to the story there for them to take their early third round pick from a year ago, who was one of their prized possessions, and then do that. So maybe there's some quiet punishment for him being late to a meeting, right? Not missing an entire walkthrough or something. Like I could see there being something like that, but them not maybe wanting to pull much attention to it. Because in reality is, sure, Nick Jones was a fun training camp story, and maybe he's better than Drew Phillips, but I just don't think this team is in a spot to just bench Drew Phillips. I'm not the biggest Drew Phillips fan in the world. You go listen to our player profile on him and talk about there is issues there that they're not new. They're just being shown a little more because teams have figured them out a bit. But I also don't think he should be being benched for Nick Jones if it's simply just for play.
Yeah, and Drew Phillips does thrive in certain scenarios. Anything downhill is where he really isn't a plus player, where like Nick Jones just isn't, right? Like he's very good at reading and reacting to those screens. If he doesn't make tackles, he slows guys up long enough for the rest of the crowd to get there. So like he's a frustrating player because he'll get you like a 5-yard tackle for loss and then give up like a 25-yard pass downfield or, defensive holding penalty. I don't know. Yeah, I don't agree that Nick Jones is like a better player, but at a certain point, if he's not doing what you asked him to do, I would think that it was maybe less play oriented and more schematic. I don't think it would be punishment that late in the game to be benching him. That seems really random.
And it seems weird to just do it after one drive of the third quarter, where he wasn't even playing that much because they played so much base defense.
That's definitely true. But I just wonder if he just screwed up a responsibility or something that they've gone over with him, and they were like, you know what? We went over this. You're down.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out on that drive because like there was a couple zone plays where he did the right thing, and there was no run game issue, and so it's like, was it simply that one catch where like he was cheating inside leverage, and hey, you don't want to, you can't just give out routes because you're playing inside leverage, but I guess maybe that was just kind of it. Maybe something they just kind of tried to hammer into him and he didn't do it. Like, all right, we're pulling you. You screwed this up. So
yeah,
that'll be interesting to see what happens. So like you said, it's 2-9 week 12. The rookie quarterback's not out. These are kind of the things I'm really interested in to see what's going on and trying to figure it out.
So you're Corey Black over Jarek Bernard Converse for this one?
I think the Giants are. I mean, they've basically shown that consistently. Maybe they'll rotate because they also have, let's see.
Rico Payton?
Yeah, I don't know. Poor Rico, but I think it's only so so Adebo out, Banks out. So you have Bernard Converse, Black, Flott, Nick Jones, Rico Payton, and Drew Phillips. So Nick and Drew are Flott. So yeah, it's Corey Black, Jared Bernard Converse, and Rico Payton. You know what? I'm going to put myself firmly in the Jared Bernard Converse train. 6'1", 205, got good size, out of LSU. He's played a little bit of ball. I'm going to become a Jared Bernard Converse guy.
Can we talk about, at this point now, looking in retrospect at the season and where we are now and what we're kind of testing out and we're benching players that we were formerly, like you wouldn't, I mean, I don't think you have the discipline issue with Abdul Carter if you're a good team that's winning, but I can't see I don't know. Basically, we're looking back at like what we have. It's a shame what happened to TJ Moore because right now I'd be interested in seeing TJ Moore playing. You don't think so?
I mean, I'm not sitting here looking to see TJ Moore out of Mercer.
No, over Bo Braid or over, you know what I mean?
I think Bo Braid, if there's any guy who hasn't played any defense on the roster who I think could like find some type of role in the NFL, it is Bo Braid.
Yeah, I'm just not really thrilled about Bernard Converse, or I'm not even really that
me
thrilled
either.
about Corey Black, Rico Payton. But TJ Moore, what an up and down preseason game he had.
Yeah, he was kind of bad, and then he gave up. Then he had that pick six, and then that was.
And then his leg snapped in half.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's talk to the chat. We got a couple more minutes.
People are yelling about Amir Smith-Marset last I saw.
Good. I'm glad I got the people riled up. You should be pissed off about that. Let's see. Oh, Brian said, well, Brian Porras, who was a Duke gang. You know Brian Porras. Love you, Bobby, and love the channel. Go Giants. And go Daniel Jones against the Chiefs. Imagine the Chiefs under 500. Bobby types with two fingers. I do. Ooh. But I do know all the keys where they are too. It's not like I'm looking at each. I've figured out where all they are, so I'm not having to actively look at the keyboard really.
I'll test that out, guys. I'll one day when he's not paying attention, I'll pop the keys out and put them in alphabetical order.
Here Here, I'm going to type something in the comments.
You have to look you have to look direct eye contact. There you go.
Okay. Right. I gotta look where the first key is, and I'm there. All right. Yeah, I screwed that up. I guess I do have to look. It was supposed to say Grump sucks.
It was close. I almost knew what you were trying to say.
Does the inactive list today provide a 1-week stay of Bowen's firing regardless of the outcome? Or is there a score so bad that he's just... I do think there... Because here's the thing, Grump. I've been anti-Shane Bowen, right? We did an episode of Should He Be Fired and said, yes, absolutely. Since Paulson Adebo has went out, I've had some sympathy for the guy. Where it's like,
sure.
Well, he, and even there was one game where Adebo and Cordell Flott were out. Might even been 2 games if I remember correctly. And I'm like, how do you call defense like this, right? And I think he's got a little more creative.
Right.
If the Giants get boat raced by the Lions today, I don't think Shane Bowen is the main issue in that. I really think it's the personnel on the defense. Not having any defensive tackles who could stop the run outside of Dexter Lawrence. Your linebackers being below average. Your DB group being, quite frankly, terrible. This is a terrible DB group today. And they have guys all across the board, even if you're a good defense that can put 40 points on you.
Exactly.
But here's the thing is if that happens, it doesn't matter. Like, people are going to be yelling for Shane Bowen to be fired.
Certainly I just don't know what that solves. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to get fired at the end of the year anyway. I don't know. Like, I know everybody's out for a pound of flesh because they're entitled to a watchable product. And not only has it been a not watchable product for most of this season, it's been a not watchable product for the last decade. So I get it, but I don't like what happens in a week when this happens again after Shane Bowen is fired. You're not going to feel any more satisfied. You still have to suffer through these next couple of weeks, no matter what. So I don't really see the point at this.
Here, I agree with that, but I think I would be like, all right, well, why are we firing him now? Like, where I think they should have either fired him the week Kafka got the job or the week after if they wanted to do the 1-week tryout thing.
Or after Dallas.
Yeah, like I'm saying, since the Brian Daboll firing. Because, they're talking about the players who be used better. So, like, what do you have to lose? Like, Marquand Manuel and Andre Patterson have both been defensive coordinators in the NFL. So, we're not talking about guys who aren't going to know what to do and have no experience of doing it. So, and defense isn't the same as offense, right? Like, you have a similar playbook. It's how you operate and how you add wrinkles to it. Where offense, you do have totally different playbooks in every team in the NFL. So I would have done it. My opinion is, like, if Shane Bowen was to get fired, I'd be like, well, you should have either done it right after the Daboll firing or before Daboll was fired at some point. Doing it now, like you said, is kind of like well, what are you trying to even accomplish here?
Yeah, I mean, now you're just marching nobles to the guillotine for the sake of the mob. You're not solving problems. What is interesting, though, is that the things we heard about the players' reception of Shane Bowen before the season even started.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know. Can we say that? Like, just basically that we had heard that, like, he's not very respected.
Yeah. Now, I will say that the more I've thought about that is, like, we know what players some of that point of view might have been coming from, and those are players who I don't respect.
Correct.
But at the same time, young players not being bought in, I do think is an issue with that coach.
I agree.
So again, I'm all for firing Shane Bowen. I just don't think this game, if they get destroyed by the Lions, that should be the breaking point. I think the breaking point should have been a while ago. And like you said, I kind of agree. But I do think Andre Patterson or Marquand Manuel I think it's possible to do a better job. I don't think you're turning this into a good defense, but I do think you can make a change and those guys do a better job calling the defense. So.
But like you said, he hasn't been necessarily terrible at calling the defense the last couple of weeks. What we've been complaining about early in the season has not really reared its head in a while. It's just simply at this point, it's a personnel issue. based on injuries and the lack of depth and the quality.
Specifically a corner, right? Like I meant to highlight that before when talking about the inactives. I tweeted it out on Friday. Like Paulson, no one is sitting here saying Paulson Adebo has had a great year, but Paulson Adebo in his 7 games, 64% completion percent allowed, 50 yards per game, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. And the 4.25 games since Banks and Black have taken over, 92%. So 28% higher, 86 yards per game. So that's 36 more yards per game. That's big. And then 5 touchdowns in less than 5 games. So like it has been a significant drop off from Paulson Adebo to those guys. Saul just gave us $10 and then dipped. So thank you, Saul. Oh, he said, do you think Pat Fitzgerald's presence at practice the past 2 days is Kafka's way of bringing an advisor for the defense? Do you think he was brought in to suggest some changes to Bowen? No. So if aren't familiar, Pat Fitzgerald is the former Northwestern head coach, because he was what do you remember exactly what happened at Northwestern, that why he was fired?
Hazing scandal?
Yeah, I think that's what it was, right? And I think he's been he might have been exonerated to an extent. Yeah, it was hazing.
Yeah. Assaults by varsity players occurred. He was aware and made hand gestures indicated freshman players should be physically and sexually assaulted for poor performance. Ouch.
Yeah. So I guess they're I'm looking up Yahoo Sports. 100% vindicated, says the graphic. Former Northwestern head coach Pat Fitzgerald reportedly feels 100% vindicated following a settlement reached in his wrongful termination case against the university, per Pete Damo. Fitzgerald was dismissed by Northwestern following exits. They turned a blind eye to hazing practices within the football program under his watch. But to not go into open that can of worms, I think it's just simply Mike Kafka was a quarterback, and the best quarterback that Pat Fitzgerald ever had. And I think he doesn't have a job right now, so he's going out there and supporting Mike Kafka. I don't think it's any deeper.
He is a defensive guy, so I mean it's a decent dot connection to suggest that. I don't think that was a silly suggestion, but I agree with you. I think this is more. Also, Mike Kafka is a young dude. I think Mike Kafka is my age. So the idea of suddenly having the weight of a failing enterprise on the weight of your shoulders, bringing in, a coach that you're comfortable with to come in and hang out with practice and give you a couple pointers, or maybe point out some things that maybe you're not noticing that need to be addressed. I don't think or even just giving some advice,
Look at us, Grump. We're supposed to keep these to 30 minutes. We're at 37 damn minutes right now. All right, so we're going to...
I love Vince Scam. He was brought into Hayes Bowen.
Yeah. Yeah, he's giving the defensive players tips. Call me a pussy under your breath in the meeting. Yeah. So, you need 3 people to coordinate this, but keep going. You have to go take turns and going, shut the fuck up, jackass. That was one of my first things of like college is not high school, especially going from Florida to Minnesota where we're in like something. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. And people around me are like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, oh, I thought I was just being funny. I didn't know you guys were here to learn.
Yeah. I'm paying for this class, dude.
I was like, oh man. I was like, that got laughs every time in high school. What the hell is going on here?
There's a true Billy Madison moment for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just wanted to shoot some support. Thanks for the great content. Joe's press conference excuse to be we're a body armor supplier away from competing. He might get me back on his side, to be honest, if he does that. So all right.
Can you imagine Joe Shane just being up there and being like, look, guys, we just need an orange mango.
He's like, I'm tired of these fucking Pepsi products.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys. We'll see you after, 4:45, whatever. Appreciate all you guys' support. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.